Brazilian Football League today and explaining and exploring why just so many Brazilian footballers are transferring directly from the Brazilian League to the Premier League, and also kind of just South America in general, directly to the Prem. So, I thought this is something that's happened quite a bit recently, so we should probably explore why this is happening and give you reasons as to what impact this might have. So if you do like this and you like these kinds of videos, then please do leave a like. We are of course doing soft spoken, as you can tell today. Change it up a little bit. I also know I have a Brazilian subscriber, Angela, who watches the Brazilian League, so if you can give us any insight into this, that would be very useful. But anyway, let's begin. The World Cup's most successful nation has not won the competition for over 20 years now, but that could change soon, as the Brazilian League is thriving right now. When the XGN 2023 Best Wonderkid finalists were revealed, there was one country that dominated the 50-man list. Brazil had no fewer than 8 players among the list of the world's best teenage talents, including the award winner Endrick. Given some of the Brazilian talents who have graced the upper echelons of the annual list of Wonderkids in recent years, such as Real Madrid duo Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo, it's hard not to get excited about the prospect of a new golden generation emerging. Of course, Brazilian generations are ultimately judged on whether or not they win the World Cup. Now we all know many Spanish and Portuguese clubs love Brazilian and South American market, with regularly scooping up talent, and they are doing this again with the likes of Vitor Rocco joining Barcelona, and Alan Varela going to Porto this summer, and many more. But what is more noticeable is how many Brazilian players are now suddenly transferring directly to the Premier League. Matheus Flanker has gone to Crystal Palace. Angelo Santos, David Washington are all at Chelsea. João Gomez is at Wolves. Gustavo Scarpa and Danilo have gone to Nottingham Forest. And West Ham United brought in Luzao. So where has this sudden influx of Brazilians coming to the Prem come from? And is it nothing more than clubs getting excited from Brazilian hype? Or is Brazil genuinely producing some incredible talents? Brazilians in the Prem have usually been signed from European sides. For example, Man United's Casemiro joined from Real Madrid, Antony joined from Ajax, and Fred joined from Shakhtar, just some few examples. The difference this season, though, is that more Brazilians are joining the Prem directly from Brazil. In the past 10 seasons, no more than 3 players have moved straight from Brazil to the Premier League in a single season, with no players making the move in some years. But in just 2023 alone, there's been over 9 Brazilians who have joined the Prem from the Brazilian League, highlighting how large an increase there has been. And to be fair, it's not just Brazil, with many players from Argentina and other South American countries now joining Prem sides directly, with the likes of Julian Alvarez and Alejo Vélez at Spurs notable arrivals. So there are several reasons why more players are moving directly from Brazil and Argentina to the Premier League. The main reason is that Brexit and the changes in work permit rules that stem from that have made it relatively easier to sign South American players. The FA introduced new visa rules for overseas players as a result of the United Kingdom leaving the EU, a points-based immigration system dependent on the strength of the league being played in. Brazil and Argentina's top flight have a higher status than many European leagues, increasing the chances of a player getting a work permit, and that has opened up a whole new avenue of career opportunities for players who previously had to rely on the amount of international caps earned at senior level. It has taken a while for clubs to develop their scouting networks to the point where they can take advantage of this, but now those networks are starting to pay off. Another main driver is the increasing financial strength of the Premier League compared to other leagues in Europe. Premier League sides outside the Champions League regulars now have the financial power to attract the top young players, can offer high salaries than most clubs in Europe, and can afford to take a risk on a 15 million Brazilian signing that might not work out. While plenty of players are still moving from Brazil to Spain and Portugal, as I said, players have moved to, at the time, newly promoted Fulham and Nottingham Forest, and even to Championship side Norwich City, who signed midfielder Gabriel Sara from Sao Paulo for more than £10 million. For Premier League sides, they can easily absorb these costs if they flop, and also beat off other more high reputation clubs in Europe to the signature of top Brazilian talents, as they can beat them in the transfer fee, offer them higher wages, and an opportunity to play in the most marketable and watched football league in the world. Another factor has been the success of a few Brazilians at mid-table Premier League clubs in recent years, who have shown that the adaptation from Brazil to the Premier League is really not that hard. Richarlison at Watford and Rafinha at Leeds both earned big money moves after joining lower end Prem sides. Gabriel Martinelli has turned into a star at Arsenal after joining as a youngster, while Bruno Guimaraes at Newcastle United played for his country at the World Cup after impressing for Newcastle. Furthermore, Brazilian clubs need to cash in on their assets, and this makes players in Brazil and other South American countries largely more affordable, because these 15 to 20 million fees make up for the major gap in commercial revenue, advertising and TV money in Brazil compared to Europe. Europe is also a good way to develop these players on a personal level, with many Brazilian clubs seeing it as a win for them if they produce a player who goes on to have a great career in Europe and play for the national team, even if they leave their club at a young age. The gap between the Brazilian leagues and Europe is fairly wide, so clubs want players with potential to play in Europe from as early as possible to help their development. This means when it comes to players like Danilo, for example, at Nottingham Forest, who is still only 21 and is on the edge of the Brazil national team, his market value was already falling while in Brazil and would have started dropping quite rapidly if he had stayed at Palmeiras. Put simply, Premier League clubs are sensing an opportunity to sign top quality players at source, rather than paying a premium further down the line. It's why there's so many stories of scouting teams being down in South America than there's ever been before, with the likes of Brighton utilising this market very, very well, with the likes of Moises Caicedo, Julio Enciso, Facundo Buonaneto, and many other players joining from South America. Danilo and Scarpa's performances at Forest, João Gomez's at Wolves in the short time they've been in England, suggests that they can cope with the pace of the Premier League just fine, and will fill more clubs with faith, but the gap between Brazil and Europe is not that big. Actually, in terms of how the Brazilian league plays and how the Premier League plays, the styles are kind of similar. It's quite physical leagues. And this trend may even rise, with a new law in Brazil allowing teams to welcome more foreign investment, which will inevitably, or well, hopefully, strengthen domestic football in the country. It's too early to say how this new law will change Brazilian football. Previous reform attempts have failed in the past, but some people trying to reform Brazilian football believe Brazilian football could be on par with France's Ligue 1 within the end of this decade. This could make the top Brazilian league a major league when it comes to producing talent. We could start to see more Endrick level fees for Brazilians from the league in the near future. For now though, the top young Brazilians will keep moving to top European clubs or the Big Six Prem sides, and the top slightly older Brazilians are seeing a direct route to mid-table in the Premier League as the next step in their careers. It'll be interesting to see how they adapt and if they can succeed in the Prem, and also if Brazil can continue its incredible work of producing some of the best players in the world, because quite frankly the Brazil national team right now needs it. As I said before, it's been over 20 years since they've won the World Cup, which for a country of Brazil, stature in the game is not really acceptable. But hopefully for Brazil's sake these guys will flourish and, as I said, develop their game in Europe and the Premier League and become into stars. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see and find out on that one. There we go. That is why Brazilians are now joining the Premier League directly from the Brazilian League. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one, and if you have enjoyed, please do leave a like, consider subscribing, and I will see you in another video. Peace.